with the confidence mudra. Ooh. She had confidence, she biked 5 miles. So this mudra, the knuckles come together, the index fingers point high, and the thumbs point in towards the heart. And you're just gonna take a few moments with this, and you're gonna let the breathing start to flow. You're gonna let your mind take a few moments and let it wander. Let it just wander, but hold the mudra. Confidence, self-awareness, the ability for us to do the right thing in the right moment for all. I'm just repeating what's popping into my head. Now, let the mind wander a little bit. If there are sounds that are around you, let them just be. Let the air flow around your body. Feel it if it's on your skin, the coolness or the humidity. And don't let your mind settle on any one thing. Think about a dragonfly as it moves through the air. Any bird that goes from flower to flower, or the bees that go from flower to flower. Just let the mind gently wander. And if it alights on something that fascinates it, take a breath. Just be with the breath, be in that fascination. With our thumbs pointed towards our hearts, we always are moving in the direction that our hearts and spirits guide us. I rarely use the word spirit, but I'm going to use it today. We are drawn to and exercise our ability to follow the greatness that's within us. Little do we know how much we are actually channeling the big spirit, the big universal spirit. Let it come through you. Let yourself be in that flower to flower place for a moment. Taking in the nectar, the beauty, in your mind's eye. If your external eyes are open, focus in on something that soothes them. And you're going to let your hands separate, let the hands open, let them come down by your side. You can keep the feet hip width apart and just let your fingertips drop towards the ground. Let the arms relax. You don't have to rotate them or do anything in particular with them. But start to take some broader breaths. Notice the body moving as you breathe. The time with that breath. We're going to stay upright and then towards the end move down to the ground. There's a part of me that wants to put a little bit of a dance into the practice this morning because I want it to kind of be a rain dance. We really need some showers. Just breathe in and think about the moisture that's in the air and letting it condense. Again, for the good of it's all, of our well-being, plant life, of the water tables. Let the arms rotate open so the palms face out, the inner elbow faces out. Stay rooted into both feet. Let the eyes be soft and gentle, maybe slightly open. And let the arms rotate back to a neutral position. Let them just hang by your sides. Inhale and exhale. And for the next 3 breaths, just staying rooted into the feet. Notice the length of the inhale, the length of the retention of the breath that you draw in, the length of the exhale, and if there is a pause, the length of that pause at the bottom. Next 3 breaths, give all of your attention to that. And remember, you don't have to hold the pauses, just notice if they exist. Or if there's just this free-flowing movement. Please notice in those 3 breaths if there's been any shift in your attention, in your awareness. I think we do need to knock out the thumps and the crossovers today. And then we'll do a little bit of just shaking of the limbs, shaking of the physical body a little bit. So take a moment to shake out your hands. Run your hands just down the leg. You don't have to bend down, just run down the leg. Think of that grounding quality. And then bring your hands together and rub them. And we're gonna go onto the cheekbones first. Inhale and exhale. Out of the mouth on the exhalations. Take your fingers and start to knock on the cheeks. My 4th finger tends to hit right on the inside edge, closer to my nose. My 3rd finger hits right on the heavier, harder bone of the cheek, and the other finger tends to tap out almost towards the temple. Inhale and exhale again. Just notice if you find any sensations in the face. Here's a stomach kidney meridian. One more time. Breathe in, let it go. And then flick that off your hands. We're going to come right into the chest. And you're going to knock in on those chest bones. Inhaling and exhaling again. Inhale and exhale. Let's sort of wake up this whole heart meridian, the lungs. And then one hand right in the center of the sternum there. Oh, this light is gorgeous out today. It's just sort of this lovely reality lighting. The sun was really bright yesterday. That's what I remember. Inhale and exhale. And then underneath the armpits. Let's go under those armpits and just breathe. Inhale and exhale. And coming around, let's go into the soft tissue at the solar plexus there, and then come back around. One more good breath. And flick that off your hands, hold that away for a moment. And take your feet, bring them in just a little bit closer, soften down into the knees. And I just want you to do a bit of a balance on the legs for a moment and then cross over and cross over. Kind of like you're sort of bouncing and crossing and sort of see if we can get that going. Now, take another breath in, let it out of the jaw. Let a jaw sound out of your throat. Everybody's got something to let go of. Preconceived ideas about how things are supposed to be. We have no idea how things are supposed to transpire. We just do what we're supposed to do. Inhale and exhale. I guess one of the other agreements. No expectation. Let it go. And then shake your hands out again. And we're going to keep this bouncing going. And you can add your hips to this. Shake your hands and just let this just vibrate a little bit. I haven't done a lot of shaking in a while. I've been sort of alternating things and moving things, but they've been external to me. So I'm going to just play with this shaking. Shake your arms above your head. Shake your hands. Let your knees give a little bit more. If you can keep your hips going, shake all the way down. Woo. Exhale, let it go. Bring it back up. Let those hands go. Do jazz hands. Jazz hands. And just shake just a little bit more. If you can just let the knees bounce, let the arms bounce. And for a few moments, let this be really sloppy. And you can go just around your body. We're keeping the feet grounded right now. So as you breathe in and let go, you're grounding into the soles of your feet. Shake. There you go. Shake, shake, shake. Inhale and exhale. Let that jaw go. Let a little bit of sound out. Come on, girls. Make a sound. And what you're going to do is you're going to keep your feet grounded and you're just going to stand still. And you're going to let your eyes close for a moment and just notice the quality under your skin, possibly the breath. You don't have to get too focused on any one thing. Again, let the mind wander just a little bit. By shaking everything up, we kind of shook out and brought up to the surface whatever needs to come up and out. So take a few moments and just be with those sensations in the body. Inhale and exhale. So what I'm immediately drawn to is the Celtic Weave. We're going to rub our hands together. Get those hands going again. Celtic Weave, you're going to inhale and move your hands about 2 feet from the sides of your head. Take an exhale there. Inhale again. And then bring your elbows together, cross your arms, and then fluff out your aura. And then go at your belly button and around your hips. Fluff it out like you have a tutu. Cross at the shins and go behind the heels. You're going to grab a ball of energy and start to weave it in figure eights over the tops of the feet. You can weave it around you. You're going to bring it up in front of the shin bones and the knees. I would keep the knees bent and weaving it around you. Weave, weave. And take a few moments and just really continue to weave this around you, kind of like you're actually creating a force field of your extended energies, your extended purpose in life. Inhale and exhale. And then just bring it into the heart and go around your face with your hands and around your ears. Do figure eights in front of yourself. Do figure eights in front of your throat. Infinite possibility is within you. And then reach your arms up and over, and we're going to come back to that confidence movement. We're going to bring it back down and just hold it for a few breaths. Right? We're doing everything that we do just to create the ability for us to go forward, to make what's inside of us move out, whether it's planting a garden or bringing people together. Take another moment. And we're going to go right into half salutation. So step up to an edge of your mat and let your hands come together for a moment. Press the palms. I want to get a little bit of pressure into the hands before we actually put pressure on the ground on them. And just inhale and exhale, letting all that breath happen. And I'm doing flat palms, flat fingers. There's always this space in the palm of the hand that doesn't touch, even as you press as hard as you can. I always think of that as two of the other diaphragms in the body, of the many diaphragms that exist. Press with a little bit more pressure. Oh, we haven't done this one in a little while. Interlace the fingers and pull your hands. And you're going to follow your arms up above you and breathe. Inhale and exhale. Inhale and exhale. Reach with the throat open. Inhale and exhale. Keep slight tension in that pulling of the hands. And then release it. Let it come down, right? So this might wake up some of the spinal cord and neck energies, and fold your hands again in front of your belly for a moment. Take a nice breath in, bring them up in front of the heart, and do that gentle pull again. Pulling and rising, pulling and rising, breathing and pulling and rising. Inhale, exhale. One more breath. And release that. And then again, just let the arms hang. Notice if your posture has shifted a little bit, maybe the shoulders and the neck feel a little bit more comfortable. We're going to go to half salutations. You can do them in any shape or form that supports you. We're going to go towards the ground first. Opening, if the arms arc and the body arcs, that's great. If you like to crisscross, we're going to have the crisscross. Hang it down, do halfway up, flat back. Exhale, release it. Come inside the arch of the foot, drag your hands up the inside of the body, up the sides, over the shoulders, and back down by your sides. Open those arms again. Crisscrossing, taking it to the ground. Halfway up, fingertips can touch earth, and release. Come over the tops of the feet, over the front of the knees, off the sides of the hips, and up and over the shoulder back. One more time like this. Reaching, crisscrossing, taking that to the ground. Halfway up. Exhale, release. Come to the back of the ankle, come up the back of the thigh, come all the way up the back body. Go up and down the back a couple of times. Up and down that back. And then come up the side of the armpits, over the shoulders, and back down to the waist. This time opening, taking it to the ground again. Hang down this time. Fingertips are going to go underneath the sole of the foot, so we're going to get the positive and the negative connected to each other. Pushing down through the ball of the foot or the toes into the fingertips, whatever works. If you can do flat back here, you straighten the elbows and lift a little bit. Inhale. Exhale. Release. Hands are going to come out. This time, place your hands on the ground. Take a foot back. I'm doing left leg back first. I'm moving my right foot out to the side. I'm keeping my back heel up and my toes flexed. And just be over that leg. Think of just stretching and breathing for a moment. If the hands come up onto the fingertips, it might be a little higher. This is definitely in the hips. I'm not trying to drop the hips low yet. I'm trying to think of as if there's a balloon under my belly, pulling my abdominals and my upper back, my lower back towards the sky ceiling. Give it another breath. And then we're going to just rock in the feet. So the stance is not so wide because you cannot rock. You get to rock back and forth. I would bring the hands inside that front leg. So there's just a little bit of give. Into the toes, into the heel possibly. And then on the next breath, take your right hand forward. If it's that right leg forward, step the left leg up. Forward fold again. Halfway up. Exhale, release. And then open this out. Opening high. Stretching it open. Hands back to the heart. Take a moment here. Notice if the up and down movements are something that you're sensitive to or aware of. And then open it again. We'll do that opposite leg. Opening high, crisscross if it makes sense. Halfway up. And then you're going to go ahead, you're going to step that opposite leg back. And again, this is not your widest wide. This is about staying over the leg. The hands can come inside that front leg so that you can keep the hips high. Let the head hang down. Let the spine sort of curl over from the hips and the buttocks. Let your neck turn this time. Check in with that neck, left to right. Check your jaw. This is always one of my favorite things to notice is think of your top jaw hanging away from your bottom jaw because that's the majority of your head. And just feel that heaviness in our heads. We're letting the blood sort of flow more easily back to the brain. Inhale and exhale. If you want to start that rocking, start to rock. It's really mild. It's not big. The knees have to stay kind of soft to make this work. And we're going to once again step everything back. Leg comes forward, hanging down. Come to the flat back when you're ready. Straight leg or bent knee. Exhale, release it. Find that breath by head and jack. Unfolding it. Bring it right back out. And exhale, hands to back. So now we're going to try for down dogs. So you get to hang in these. Inhale, open up. It's wild having humidity. Releasing it down. Let those feet just step right back into their first down dog. Inhale and exhale. You can let your hips wag a little bit. You can let your knees bend. Your heels can pedal. For the first few moments, be aware of how gravity pulls your hands, pulls your feet into the ground. Don't worry about any sloppiness in the back of the spine. And then from here, you're gonna go ahead and either let the knees come down or you're gonna come through your first plank. So this time the hips can drop as close to the ground as you want. If you prefer the knees down, you can just come right down. If you wanna roll this all the way into the ground, roll your belly all the way down. Little bit of Sphinx. Let the belly touch the ground for a moment. Take a breath with that. Take another breath. I'm going to make this a little bit more difficult. If you can lift your legs up off the ground, lift the knees and the toes off the ground. If that doesn't work, it doesn't have to be high. You're just raising it off the ground. If you think you can pull your hands back, pull your hands back. Let's wake up that back body. If this is too much for you, you can just lay your hands on your buttocks and just lift the heart there. Breathing. And then hands are going to touch, toes are going to touch, pushing back, either hands and knees and back to child's pose, or you can move this right into downward facing dog. Pay attention to what you think you might need. First child's pose, second down dog. Come back to the hands and the knees. Let's work with the abdominals again. So when you come into these abdominals through the cat and the cow, you think of a balloon pushing up against the belly, squeezing the breath out of the lower belly, and then letting the balloon deflate a little bit. And then the air pushes back into the balloon and you empty out your breath. Moving back and forth in that. Relax your jaw, smile. Opening and closing that. Check in with your neck and your shoulders. We're going to actually Get a couple more standing poses in and then go right into the shoulder blades. So when you're ready from here, stick a leg back behind you, just hold it in the air. It can be straight or it can be bent. Some people may have preference to putting the forearms down to work with that and a little bit more closer to the ground. Just be aware that that's an option. You can stay on the hands if you like. Try to move that leg just a smidge higher. You may find that you feel contractions in the back. And then you're going to pull this knee up and through your hands. Take a moment here, just begin draping. If it feels appropriate, we're going to dip into a deeper lunge. So you pull the toes forward and you let that hip drop in the back. Otherwise, it stays boxy. And you just stay draped. Or if it feels appropriate, stretch your throat. Just take a few moments with it. Find that energy in the navel area and even the pelvic floor, pulling in. When you're ready, you're going to try and tuck that back toe under and lift that back knee up. Again, this stance can get wider, the hips can drop lower. If you want to play with core energies, stack the hands. See if you can actually float this. Maybe it comes up a little higher. Again, the hands can stay close to the ground. I'm pretty wide, even for me, that's pretty wide. I'm going to move this back to the down dog or to hands and knees. Let your head go. Soften the knees a little bit. Wag your tail a little bit. This time, instead of feeling gravity in the hands and the feet, I want you to push them into the ground so that things get longer and higher. Hips get higher in the air. Knees can still be soft. Elbows can have a little bit of a softness to them also. And then we're going to once again let this come down. You can go straight to the knees. We're going to go through a tiny Bow Cobra. So again, you can come through the Sphinx and just lift up the heart. If it feels appropriate, lift the legs. They're not going to be that high off the ground. It just might be your knees lift off the ground. Take a few moments, let this breathe. And then if you think you can do it, you can push the arms back, rest them on your back. Your nose can look towards the ground, or you can stretch your throat out. This is a tough one. Just stretching the throat out puts a whole bunch of pressure right in the center of the chest there. And then releasing it, hands are going to come under. You can either do down dog or you can do child's pose. We're going to find our way. The knees are going to come back to the ground. If you chose that child's pose, you just lift back up again. We're going to raise the opposite leg in the air. And again, you can choose to lower this to the ground on the forearms. Lift that leg out, straight or bent. Find that breath. Explore how the breath is moving. Stretch the throat if it makes sense. Give it one more push into the air. Really defy gravity. And then this leg is going to come up and through, and you'll do that box again. And just take a moment in that box. And crawl the toes when you find that urge. Dip into the deeper lunge. So we're in this pretty wide stance, but it still doesn't have to be a deep lunge. It can be rather boxy. The back toe is going to end up tucking. You're going to go ahead, you're going to lift, and you're going to see where that balance wants to be. You know, you can stay really low with this, and you can be in the hips. You can be in the thighs, pushing through that back leg as deep as you're pushing into the front. Give it another breath. And then from here, you're going to go ahead, step this back into the downward facing dog. Take a moment. Come into the toes, pedal if it makes sense. There's a variation of down dog when the feet are almost as wide as your mat. You bend the knees and you push your hips away from your hands. I'm not pushing my chest towards my thighs as much as I'm pushing my hips away from my hands. And then if it feels appropriate, you can let the heels drop, the knees straighten, and just be in that full, complete stretch with gravity and defying it. As you come into the next breath, look towards your hands, step the feet in a little bit closer. I'm going to step right leg forward. So forearm on that leg, sweep that arm. Take a moment. Here for your neck. We're going to stay on one side after we get through the individual. Let that left arm step around. Let the right hand come on to the station. Pull that left arm up.
Is something happening with the sound?
Pushing down the boat. Let that arm move. Hands back. And now parallel the position. Parallel forward. Let the hand down. It's going to be a lot of hip and inner thigh stretching. Take a moment here. You're going to walk your hands to the opposite leg. Turn that leg out. Take a moment there. Extend it further again. Forearms up and open that. Then you can look towards the sky, look towards your ceiling. Give it another breath. Stay connected to that back leg. This hand that's in the air is going to come down. You're going to place your opposite hand on your back and then reach that right arm up into the air. Sinking. Yeah, I know. It's a tough one. This is not easy. Reach, 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 reach. Inhale and exhale. Down, down, down. And then release the arms again. Back to the ground. Take it that left foot around. Fold it down. If you want to push into your hands or bend your knees, you can open the inner thighs a little bit more. If you want to wake up your toes, wake up the toes. You can push your weight into the toes and lift the heels, or you can push into the heels and lift the toes. We're going to walk our hands back to the right foot. We're going to give a try to crescent pose. I am not going to make this as wide as it was. My hands are going to come onto my back. I'm going to stack everything up. My back heel is up. Inhale the arms high. Do the best you can with it. If you have to narrow your stance, you narrow your stance. Open the arms out to the side and just twist your body towards your inner thigh. Twist your body. There you go. Stretch those arms out if you can. Inhale and exhale. The neck is staying comfortable. Wherever you put your head, put it comfortable. Come back to center. Reach those arms high. Release them to the ground. And then step back. Down dog. Straight the push-up if it makes sense. Lower to the ground. Open up that cobra. Stretch out the belly. Release it. Tuck the toes. Back to downward facing. We're going to look towards our hands, get the other leg to step forward. Crescent pose again, back heel up. Remember, this does not have to be hyper wide. We had been working hyper wide a moment ago, but I'm not looking for that. Arms are going to rise. Give it a breath. Be between both of those legs. Think of the inner thighs starting to crisscross. The arms are going to open, and you're going to twist your body towards the inner thigh, front inner thigh. Breathe. Give it a few breaths. And then inner breath brings you back high. We get to do another round of down dog to plank or straight to plank. Roll through into the ground. Cobra or upward facing. Release it. Down dog or child's pose this time, just to release the twisting. 3 breaths. You're in your down dog, happily stay there. As you come into the next breath, we're going to go ahead. You can come back to down dog or hands and knees. Step the right foot up, tuck the back toe under. We're going to come up standing. Peggy, turn and face towards me this time. So just change your body position so you can see me. And actually take a moment here and just, feet can be parallel or slightly turned out. So take a moment, push those arms out. We're going to take the arms crisscrossing. Doesn't matter which one you crisscross first. Hook the hands. Some people can hook the hands this way. I tend to like to rotate them in. The elbows can stay low on the chest so that you can feel the breath in the back body, or they can rise so you feel a little bit more inside the shoulder. My knees are starting to soften a little bit, so I'm sinking my weight into the feet and breathing into that mid-back. So take a moment and just pivot your torso a little to the right, and then come back to center and pivot your torso a little to the left. Inhale and exhale, and then come back again. Chin's going to drop into the chest. The elbows might rise a little bit more, just so you can feel in between those shoulder blades with your breath. And then you're going to go ahead, you're going to just pull this off, kind of like a genie. Pull it off, push it out. Release the arms. Let's take we haven't even done a lateral bend. So let's take a lateral bend so we can get into the armpit. You can look down at the foot that you're leaning towards. Take a breath there. I'm going to let that arm overhead circle, and it's going to help me pull this back out and then go the other way. Lateral bend. Looking down at the foot you're leaning towards, just to check in with your neck. Circle that arm overhead and help it bring you back high. So now we're going to go ahead. No, we have one more side to do. You have to remember which way you crossed your elbows, and you have to cross them in the other direction. Right? You'll know. And again, elbows can drop into the chest bones, or you can lift the elbows high. And your head can fall into your arms if you like. Otherwise, just give awareness to that space between the shoulder blades. Put your attention in your breath right behind you. Kind of like somebody's behind your back and they're pulling the skin apart there when you breathe. Also breathe into the lower part of the lungs, lower part of the belly. What does that do to that lower area? Couple more times, breathe it, and once again, go a little to the left and come back to center and go a little to the right. And back to center. And once again, you're going to pull this off kind of genie style. Okay, so I haven't addressed the elements yet today, but we are going to address the water. You're going to pivot so that you're facing towards the right leg. Inhale, turn, you got the butt. Let's change this day. Push those arms up. Squeeze your hips right down. So we're going to do two things at once. So the arms are going to open. You're going to pivot your body back to center. Take a moment here. Close that off. Again, we're making it up into the water. We're going to pivot in the other direction. You're going to pivot that foot around. You're going to go ahead, sink down into the legs again. Take a moment here. In this warrior, in this offering, to be present with oneself, be present with others. Understand. Unknown fears, what they don't know, right? And water can help mediate that, wash it away, it changes things. You're going to let those arms release themselves from the bowl, make your wave again. Make a wave, push it out. Make a wave, push it out. Make a wave, but now scoop that water up and over yourself, renewing. Release that wave and let it just flow around you. And again, open. Make that wave. Make that wave. Make that wave. Doing it high. Release it as if it is like gone through the tunnel of the wave. And sweep one more. Sweep it around you. And again, we're releasing this. We're going to pivot this back to the center line. Take a lateral tilt. Push high. Doesn't matter which way you go first. Come back. Take a lateral tilt. Push high. Come back. Take a moment here. Release the arms. So I haven't done anything to the back. We're going to interlace the hands behind the back, or you can take your hands flat on your palms. Elbows can point up. Either one of these is perfectly reasonable. Hands on the sacrum, and just keep those elbows going back. Forward fold. Nice big opening, keeping your stance as big and as broad as your heart and mind are. You have the spaciousness inside yourself to know that you're doing the best that you can. When you're ready, I would let the hands come onto the sacrum there and lift this back up. If you're a little lightheaded, take a moment. We're going to pivot back towards the right leg. Let the hands come down, downward facing dog. And I want to just insert a little bit of dolphin here. So take a moment and just sit on the heels for a moment. The posture that you're going to end up doing with your arms is going to be either palms together in a pyramid, and that pyramid is usually in alignment with the shoulder. But sometimes it's easier to, I always start with my arms on the ground in this position, and then I roll to put the wrist down, because you have to get that whole bone that wraps over the other bone to twist. And your palms would go flat, your wrists would go flat, your elbows would be down. My elbows are a little bit wider here. So those are the two variations. And take a moment and just see if you can lift that up. Even if you do it here, can you lift this up? And this is basically the posture you're going to be in. No pressure on your head. Those elbows are coming as close together as possible. That's what I want you to feel for. you go. Head is not having to work hard here, but those armpit muscles and all the connections are. Bring the hands back down to the heart. So this posture comes down onto the ground. I'm going to do the version where I roll my palms open and then roll the wrists down. I'm going to let my head drop. And for some people, this is probably enough, because the goal here is not to let your hands touch. And you're just letting the head hang down, pushing through the forearms. If you can take this further, you tuck the toes under and you lift the hips up into the air. And you let the head just hang down. My head, my little knot on my hair there is touching, but there's no weight on the head. If you can take 3 to 5 breaths here, this is the big deal. Even if you're just doing this with the knees down, what's that like to breathe in this posture? Pushing through the arms. When you're ready, you're gonna just let everything sink back to the knees, hips to the heels, and let the arms relax. And we're gonna give this a try at least 2 more times, so you can try both variances. When you're ready, come back. You can do palms together, elbows down. Let the head fall and just stay. If you're game, and so this is the first task I usually have people do, is I'm taking the right foot, push it back, and see if you can lift your hips up from there. If you can, sometimes you can walk the feet in a little closer and breathe there. So when we're in this posture and we're breathing, we're having to push into our diaphragm. Because usually what happens is gravity just pulls it. Knees are going to come down again. If they're not, bring your arms down by your legs and just rest in the inhale. And then one last time, if you do not want to do that inversion again, just do this movement. Bring those hands together, bring the elbows and see if you can make them squeeze and touch, and just let your chin rest towards your chest. My back is really long here, but if you can put the pressure into the arms, it just changes the dynamic of the breath. But this also does exactly the same thing. It opens up those shoulder blades. And you're having to use muscular tension to keep this intact. So you're actually spreading apart. And actually, from here, what might be really nice to do is take one arm under one elbow and just rub, take your fingers and just rub right into the shoulder behind you. And then you can switch it. You can pinch that shoulder, and then you can switch it and do the same thing on the other side. Pull that flat a little with the fingertips. Is everybody getting that? This leads to all kinds of inversions, but I won't torture everybody with that today. We're going to go ahead. We're going to roll onto the back. And I've been working with this bridge pose for the last about 6 days. Feet together, knees together, arms relaxed, push in and lift the hips. And my thighs are touching, my knees are touching, my feet are touching. Only my big toes touch. If I bring my ankles in, it twists my knees a little too much. And I feel all of the thigh muscles activating for this one. Tailbone's getting longer. Inhale and exhale. And then let those hips come back to the ground and just take a moment. This isn't a long bridge. The feet are going to widen just about 4 inches apart, maybe less than that. Push down into the foot, raise the hips here. So we're accessing different areas of the thighs doing this variation of bridge. Breathe with that. Let that breath move. And then once again, the hips are going to come down. This time the feet are going to get almost as wide as your mat. The knees are as wide as your feet. You're going to lift this and maybe your fingers touch your heels. You're otherwise just going to push into those legs and lift as high as you comfortably can. And again, if the shoulders don't want to take the weight, just keep the upper back connected right at the spine there. Because this is a good stretch for the neck. And whenever you want, you can put those hips back on the ground. And then I want you to pick one of these bridges to do one more time. You can do the wide one, you can do the half narrow one, or you can do the really narrow one with the legs together. All of them offer something, an awareness that you didn't have access to a moment ago. Inhale and exhale, several rounds. You can hold it up. And then as you like, you're gonna let everything roll down. I did this last week and we're gonna give it a try again. Bring one knee into your chest. And then switch the legs, put that foot back on the ground. And let's work with this one first, this second leg. Straighten this leg out into the air. And you're gonna go ahead, you're not gonna drop it all the way to the side, but you're gonna drop it and circle and bring it back. Out to the side, drop, back. If you need more support on your sacrum, hands go underneath the flesh of the buttocks. Circle. You can flex and point the foot. So this is my other way of getting us into. Stretching or blood inside your hip. And rest, make the circle small. Make that circle small. And we're going to just reverse it 3 times. One more time. And then let that leg come straight. Just let it rest on the ground. And we're going to go ahead and bend the knee and straighten. Let it open out to the side, circle down. In the beginning, this is happening really molasses-like slow, right? Make it a molasses movement, not, and even if your molasses is warm, it's still gonna move kind of slow to get out. Open it. And again, if you're finding clicks or clumps happening inside the hip, or the thigh, make the circle smaller. Right? Sometimes it just has to be smaller to gain the neuron connection, right? Letting that leg know it can do the movement, but you can eliminate things. And again, if the leg fatigues, that's okay. Just I like to just hold it in the air if it fatigues. I'm just like, I'm going to just keep it up. And then reverse the circle, go the other way. There you go. And then let this leg release to the ground. Let the other leg release to the ground for a few moments. Just check in with your body. I kind of want to do a version of Matsuyasana, which is fish. And the way you do that is you prop up on your elbows and just look towards your toes and maybe pump the toes a few times. You'll notice that your body shifts front to back. And then you're going to push into the hands and you're going to see if you can let your head drop back, keep your legs energized, elbows pressing into the ground. Some people can push into their arms and some people rest their weight on their head. Everybody's a little different on that one. Good, good, good. Take a breath. Peggy, come up onto your elbows for a moment. Come up higher. See if you can move your elbows back. Just a pinch. There we go. Hold that. Don't drop your head yet. Hold that first and lift your heart up. There we go. Now see if the head wants to tilt it. Keep pushing through those arms. Keep lifting that heart up. And then when you come out of this, you're going to go ahead, you're going to keep your elbows in place and try and lay your back onto the ground. Take your time.